Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. Subscribe, share, especially share this video. If it helps you, it might help somebody else. And I'm going to go right into what I'm talking about today because it's kind of a serious topic. It is a serious topic. It's not even kind of, and it just sucks. But it's the one thing that we're all called to do. Every single one of us has a duty in this life, and that duty is to die, basically, right? It's the one thing you don't get a choice on. And it's hard because of what we've been taught about it. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I want you to really think about this because it came across different this time. When somebody dies, what we're taught is to mourn, and you go through 7 or 9 stages of grief, and you can take as long as you need to in each one and whatever, right? The story goes on. And people really get caught up in that, right? Because what you end up missing is the presence of this person, right? You end up missing the presence, and whether it was a good relationship or a long relationship, or it's interesting how when you're really tied to somebody by blood or by some kind of bond, how difficult it can be to let go. But when you are especially in love with that person, when you are, whether it's a grandparent, a cousin, a friend, just a dear friend, whatever the case is, a spouse, and all of a sudden that person's gone, you miss the presence, you miss the energy of that person, is what ends up happening. And so you go in through the brain and you start thinking about them, right? So all of the stuff starts flooding back into your mind, all the good times, all the things you're going to miss, even all the bad stuff, right? You start going through all these things in your head. If it's a bad relationship, you definitely start sorting through the bad stuff, right? And even just looking for something good, right? So, but I want you to think about how you've been taught about the dying process itself. What we've been taught about this is when somebody's dying, especially if it's an active death, right? And in hospice care, that's what they call it. You're actively dying. And I learned a lot of this when my mom died because she was in hospice. So when they're in an active state of dying, they watch for certain signs and then they let the family know, which seems like a generous, kind thing to do, but it can cause a lot of issues for the people that are standing back watching. And so, blood pressure changes, blood sugar changes, organ failure, right? They quit eating, they quit drinking, they quit talking, right? If they're already Alzheimer's or dementia patients, they've already probably quit doing some of that stuff. But when it starts coming down to the food and the organs dying, and then they quit drinking and the blood pressure changes, right? People tend to freak out. It's like, right? Oh no. And rightfully so, but it's because of what we've been taught. We were taught when you have a blood pressure issue, it's time to panic. We were taught when you have some kind of thing go wrong, right? Your potassium's too high, too low, whatever's going on. If you're not eating or something, it's time to panic. Everyone's like, oh no. And I hate to be like that, but that's exactly what it feels like to me when somebody, calls from hospice or a family member calls to alert you, oh, this change just occurred, and then you panic because it's almost time. Here's the problem with this idea. Here's the problem with the way we're doing this, is when you do that, you're sending negative energy to the person who's in the active dying phase. Dying is a natural stage of life. And I literally had a family member who's a psychiatrist tell me, oh, you're just stuffing your emotions. And I couldn't even, I was just like, I can't do this with you right now. So I just agreed with her. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like, you don't get it, whatever. You're not actively stuffing your emotions. If you're actively trying to see them as white light, right? Visualize them as the spirit side of them, and then send them the good vibrations. Where's your focus? Understand this, because it all comes back to what you're focusing on. If I'm focusing on the fact that their blood sugar went low or blood pressure just went low and it's almost time and my heart hurts and my brain goes crazy thinking about all this stuff and the tie between this person. But if you understand energy, you're going to understand they're just right here, right? Just the physical form is gone, not the energy form. And if you're not in a place where you're feeling energy or seeing beyond the veil, you'll get there. Just keep your focus on what you need to focus on. Don't focus on that negative thing, right? Oh, the blood sugar went low. They stopped eating. They haven't ate for days. They're just giving them, drips of water. I have a friend who's actively going through this right now with his grandmother. And bless his heart, I'm just like, oh, and he understands some of this energy stuff. We've talked about some of these things before. And so when it showed up again the other day and her blood pressure had dropped, and he was just in tears, and he's like, she's going to go soon. And there's, should I be there? Should I not be there? Like all these things. I'm like, what are you focusing on? And understand this. Here's what came out of my mouth. And it kind of made me stop and go, oh, wow. If her blood pressure doesn't drop, she can't escape this body. If her organs don't fail, she can't get out of here, right? And that's one of the processes of the journey, is to get out of this body and go on to whatever's next, right? So we're going to expect the blood pressure to drop. We expect the organs to fail. And we stand there in awe and bless the person in white light and just a ton of love as they're going through the process they're going through. But if you do it from a side of fear, guess what it makes them do? I'm guessing it makes them hold on for dear life because they know you're in fear, right? They are not disconnected. They are connected even deeper because they're moving towards the veil. Does that make any sense? So it's what I saw the other day when it showed up with my friend and his grandmother. And I was just like, oh, isn't that interesting? And I witnessed this when my mom was actively going through her dying phase. As my dad was feeding me information, whatever they were, giving to him. Oh, this just happened. It could be just hours. And I was like, wow, bless her heart. How awesome. And it just kind of made my dad stop and shake his head because he doesn't get this. And I had to backtrack because I didn't want to throw him into a tailspin. But if you understand energy, so this is only for people who understand energy and you get the whole scope, right? You're seeing from a different angle besides 3 dimensions. All right, you're seeing it from a different place. When somebody dies, and I think this is going to start, we're in a really strange period of time. If you understand what's going on, right? If you understand what's happening with the jab and with the SP, the spike proteins, and I shouldn't have said that out loud, but the SP, if you're understanding these things, you know that death and dying is going to start occurring more rapidly, and view it like if these people can escape, right? If their souls and their spirits can escape this system that's being attacked, good for them, better off for them. Yes? View it differently. Don't view it the way they're setting it up, that, right, the fear of all these, millions of people potentially leaving the planet. Man, view them as white light. Right? Ask them to send back information, right? Is what I told my friend the other day. It was like, hey, when she passes, tell her to come back and give us some good information. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? The reason I say, we've just been taught wrong, right? So the reason I'm saying all of this is because we have been taught wrong. We were taught to do this in fear. We were taught to do this in a state of panic. We were taught every little tick of the clock as this, time in the physical presents itself and starts, right? The illusion starts fading and this person starts passing into whatever they're passing into, right? You start freaking out and it's like, that's part of the journey, right? It's part of the journey. And somebody said to me, I was talking about this the other day with someone, and they said to me, oh, you're just saying that now, wait till it's you. And I'm like, man, when it's me, I'm going to get excited because I'm thinking, and I tried to tap into her energy last night for my friend. And the response I got from her was that this is like, I'm just trying to pay attention. She goes, I'm trying to be so present in places I was never present before. And I was like, wow. And she goes, I'm just paying very particular attention to the system and her physical body, the way it was working, and now the way, how everything is just slowly, and she didn't use the word declining. It was more just of a paying attention to as things were altering, right, until her moment arrives. And then she's like, oh, what's on the other side? Does it make sense? Okay. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment below, whatever. Like the video, please. Share it if it helped you. And I will be speaking again to you soon. Bless you.